Browns back on the practice field this week. They're getting ready for joint practices against the Vikings later this week. We will get to that, but first, a piece of news, something that wasn't all that surprising, Mary Kay, but with his injury status, we didn't know if Kevin Stefanski would do this or not. Deshaun Watson will start the third preseason game against Seattle.
Yes, we all suspected that was going to happen, but we weren't really sure until we kind of yanked it out of Kevin today. And, it's finally nice to know that I, for one, am going out to Seattle, so I will at least have something to cover, and fans will have something to watch in that final preseason game. So Deshaun Watson going out to Seattle, and last year he played about a quarter in the preseason finale against the Chiefs. He went about 5 for 10. He threw a touchdown pass, so it is good work. I think it's important for him to get live reps. It will have been 8 or 9 months since he's actually had an opportunity for contact before that game. So he needs to get out there and get the feel of the game again.
Yeah, Ashley, the last thing you want is for him to have his first opportunity on the field coming against Micah Parsons and that Dallas defense. At least get him out there, put him in a position where he can get hit, maybe be a little bit uncomfortable, and see what that looks like.
I do think that is an underrated part of this, is forcing that uncomfortability, because when he came back from his 11-game suspension in 2022, that kind of became a storyline. I think he even talked about it. Just not getting hit for 2 years is a lot to have to deal with, and then come back and suddenly that's coming at you. So 100%, I think this is a very, very important part of his preseason.
Now, it is a big week for Deshaun Watson, even though he and most of the starters, if not all of the starters, won't play this Saturday against the Vikings. The joint practices, Kevin Stefanski told us on Sunday that the first team is going to get the majority of the reps in those practices. Deshaun Watson is going to get a ton of reps in those practices. Obviously, you can't hit the quarterback, but Mary Kay, to see Deshaun Watson go against another defense who's going to be trying to pick him off, trying to pressure him, all of those things, this is just another big week and another step in his rehab.
It's a very big week for Deshaun Watson. This week will go a long way towards determining how ready he is for those Dallas Cowboys on September 8th. Because even though he is going to play in Seattle, he will, again, probably only get about 20 snaps in that game. It's these joint practices that will really get him the situational football that he needs against a good defense. Again, he won't get hit, but this is going to be really, really good work for him. He can test his skills, his arm strength, his stamina against an aggressive Brian Flores defense with some good outside linebackers, and they'll know a lot more by Thursday.
Yeah, this is, again, with only seeing him in the preseason when everything is vanilla, Ashley, this just gives an opportunity to see him go against something we might not even see against Seattle when they play the Seahawks.
Yeah, those 1-versus-1 reps in these joint practice are why these are such important practice sessions in general. So I think even though he can't get hit there, it's good for them to be able to run this new offense against another defense that doesn't know the ins and outs of everything they're doing.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the joint practices themselves. They do this every year in week 2. The Browns hold one joint practice. Mary Kay, what are you kind of looking for as we head into these 2 days?
Well, I think it's offensive efficiency in general is what I'm looking for. We kind of know what this Cleveland Browns defense is all about. They're running it back, but it's a new offense, new offensive coordinator, entirely new offensive staff, new scheme, new system. Jerry Jeudy is new. So what can they do? What is the timing like? What are they going to look like when they line up in team drills? We're probably not going to be able to film much of that, but we will get a really, really good idea of the cadence, the timing. Are they running up tempo? And is it going to look efficient at all? And it needs to.
Ashley, what are you watching?
I think the biggest thing for me is we use the phrase vibe check as a joke a lot, but I do think that's essentially what these joint practices provide. They're not the end-all, be-all of your training camp, but they can certainly kind of forecast some major things for your season. I think back to 2 years ago, we watched the Eagles come in here. Those pass catchers dismantled this defense. Of course, they were kind of a middling defense the rest of the way. Joe Woods ended up getting fired at the end of the season, versus last year when we went to Philadelphia, Eagles players could not stop raving about this defense, the defensive line. They were obviously the number 1 ranked unit last year. So really interesting, I think, just to think of those overall trends that you get to see over 2 days.
Yeah, I think the defense is the big thing for me too. Just sort of that they love to talk trash. They love to get after it. We even heard some of it today. There was a lot of trash talking coming from Greg Newsome, actually, but a lot of those other DBs as well in practice. And I just want to see this defense's swagger go against, Sam Darnold, and then you've got a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. So, let's see if this defense looks dominant in these practices. We will cover everything from the joint practices. You can find it all at cleveland.com/Browns.